One of the easiest and most used mechanics in the game is just a version of a fancy slide. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to do them and most importantly how to use them. These are going to change your gameplay forever. Slide jump bunny hops, standing bunny hops, snake bunny hops, tap strafe bunny hops, butt sliding. Wait, that's not a bunny hop. And then this thing. Bro, what the f? Bunny hopping is what I like to call a momentum keeping mechanic. Or to simplify it, whatever speed you go into the bunny hop with, you'll keep that speed no matter what happens to you and no matter what you're doing. That's why bunny hopping is used so often, because in times where you typically get slowed, like coming to the end of your slide, shooting your gun, healing, aiming down the side of your gun, getting shot yourself, you can keep that speed that you started with as long as you keep inputting those bunny hops. So with that being said, let's hop into the range and get you set up. Now, to start things off, something that I kind of just need to briefly talk to you about is that my button layout is just slightly different than the button layout that you probably have. As you can tell, I have a controller display bottom of the screen right here. That way you can see what buttons I'm hitting and when I'm hitting them. So that way when I go to hit jump, you know when I'm jumping off of the bunny hop. And when I hit crouch, you can see that my crouch is something totally different. Now, I actually have my crouch set up to Y, and the reason why we set that, pardon the pun, Y and Y, haha, so funny, District. The reason why we have that set up is so that when we enter death boxes, we can still crouch with our crouch button. Otherwise, if you look right here, B to close, if my crouch is still on the B button, whenever I go to crouch, it's going to kick me out of that supply bin or out of the death box. I mean supply bin. Out of the death box or out of the lobe alt or whatever interactive menu that we're currently in. Now, with that being said, whenever you see me hitting Y on the controller display, that is actually my crouch button. And then whenever you see me hitting anything else, that is the actual button that I'm actually hitting. Another thing is that I actually play with a custom controller with buttons on the back of it, as you can see right there. So, even though I'm hitting A and even though I'm hitting Y, I'm doing that on the back of my controller. We're going to get a little bit into like what controllers you should be playing with or like what button layouts if you can't afford a pro controller a little bit deeper into the guide. But with that being said, let's hop right on into it, starting off with how to actually bunny hop. Bunny hopping is going to be significantly easier if you play with hold to crouch instead of playing with toggle. And the main reason why is because you get a lot more movement capability when you play on hold versus toggle. When you play with hold, if I hit crouch right now and I hold it and I hit jump, I can actually jump out of that crouch. And notice something else. When I hit jump, when I land, I'm still crouched, all thanks to that hold mechanic. Versus if we change this over to toggle, now when I hit crouch, cool, I'm all the way crouched down, but when I hit jump, it won't actually make me jump. And then on top of that, it won't put me back into a crouch, which means that if I want to go back into a crouch after I've jumped, I have to hit crouch again. This is really important for this mechanic because when we slide jump so that we can bunny hop, you have to go back into a slide for you to jump out of it again. That's what a bunny hop is. A bunny hop is basically when you crouch and you keep jumping off of the slide over and over and over again and you hop around, right? But if I hit a bunny hop with toggle, it's going to put me back into a stand. So with that being said, we will dive a little bit deeper into the hold versus toggle debate or, you know, what you should be playing on in general, which is going to be hold. Just a, you know, spoiler alert, you want to play on hold no matter what. But yeah, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. And now we're going to kind of just talk about how to bunny hop, what it is, and how we can start taking advantage of it in our games. So to start things off, we are basically breaking down a bunny hop into 3 different mechanics. A sprint, a slide / crouch, and a jump. What we're going to be doing is I'm actually just going to, let's just do this over here where there's a little bit more space. Yeah, this is nice. Very pretty and cinematic. Very, very pretty. So basically what we're going to do is that we're going to go sprint, slide, jump, followed by a series of jumps while holding that slide button or holding that crouch button, which is keeping us in a continuous slide. That's all a bunny hop really is. It's a slide that's being continued by a series of jumps, because if we don't jump and we just slide, you're going to lose all of that momentum. Where a lot of people kind of mess up with bunny hops is they think that you have to spam jump over and over and over and over and over again, or you have to like spam it really quick so that you get the jump at the perfect time. The issue with this is that if you decide to spam it, you might get lucky and hit a couple jumps one after another that are actually perfectly timed, but eventually your luck is going to run out and you're going to lose all your momentum because you're just hitting the button at the wrong time. The thing with bunny hops is that you have to hit your jump button the moment that you hit the ground. There's a little bit of leniency, so if you don't hit it right away, that's fine. It will still work, but to get it perfect, you want to make sure that you're hitting jump the moment that you hit the ground. So for example, if I hit it as soon as I hit the ground like this right here, that little dip right there kind of messes things up. But if I hit it right here, you'll notice that I can continue the slide for quite a long time as soon as I hit that ground. But if I decide to, I'm just going to slide down this ramp. If I slide and then I hit jump and then I wait a half sec, I'm going to lose all of that momentum even before I get to that ramp, right? So you really need to make sure that you hit jump as soon as you hit the ground. That's going to take some practice. If you can't get it right away, that's totally cool. It's just timing. Now, if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, this is going to be significantly easier than if you're playing on controller. You should still be playing on hold to crouch, but in your mouse and keyboard settings, you can change your jump button to scroll wheel. And then that way, you don't have to hit jump at the perfect time. You just scroll as you're coming towards the ground and it will instantly jump off of the ground for you. So that's going to be a really easy way for you to kind of hit that on mouse and keyboard. Now, something that a lot of players try to do is they try to bunny hop in a straight line. And though that's not incorrect, there's a way that we can do bunny hops even better. Now, this video is going to get a lot more in-depth and advanced. So if you want to continue developing your skills in Apex, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so that YouTube knows that you want to see more content like this. Also, consider subscribing to my movement club. We open a private custom lobby every week so that you can practice in person with a movement coach. As well, you'll get access to our growing library of movement videos that we add to at least once a week. If you want to learn more about that, the link will be in the description down below. Go check out my website. What a lot of people will do, like I said, is they'll bunny hop, and they'll bunny hop in a straight line like this. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. That's a correct bunny hop. But like I said, we can add on to this by adding a snake or snaking the bunny hop. Basically, what we're going to do is as we bunny hop, we're going to make sure that we make nice wide turns to the left and to the right like so. And what that's going to do is it's going to make the bunny hop not only feel a little bit more consistent, it's going to give you a little bit more leniency with when you hit that jump button. On top of that, it's going to give you a little bit more momentum. Basically, what a snake looks like is we're going to start off by bunny hopping, and as we start jumping, we're going to make sure that we add directional movements to the left and to the right like this. Now, what's important is that you turn both of your sticks in the same direction. But if you only make small gradual turns like this, it's not going to snake properly, and you're just going to get basically like a straight bunny hop. So it's important that you try to go as wide as you can, like this right here. You're basically trying to do a 45-degree turn as you're bunny hopping. So you should be pushing your sticks on a 45-degree angle. And then you see right there how I lost all of my momentum and then I gained it all back. That is because of the snaking effect. So when you lose your momentum and you're going sideways, for some reason it's just really easy to gain a lot of it back. As opposed to if you just go in a straight line and you make one mistake, you lose a lot of that momentum. There we go, I just did it again on accident, right? I lost a lot of my momentum, and then I was able to regain all of that back. And snaking is just a good way to kind of help you build consistency with your bunny hops. Now, aside from snaking, there's also a couple other ways that we can use movement with the bunny hops. Now, they are only PC exclusive, so if you aren't on PC right now and you're on console and you've been thinking about maybe switching over to PC, I highly suggest doing it. It offers not only a whole bunch of extra movement mechanics that you can do in Apex specific, but also it's just going to make the game feel a lot smoother with a higher FPS and significantly less input delay, which just means that aiming feels smoother, playing the game in general is just a lot more enjoyable, and it doesn't feel as clunky and slow. Now there's two different types of tap strafes, or there's two different types of bunny hops that we can do. One being a circular tap strafe, where we kind of do, you know, a circle or like a figure 8 motion. And then there's also a directional tap strafe bunny hop that we're using to progress forward and move ourselves through the open while staying really hard to hit. Now the first circular or figure 8 kind of tap strafe looks something like this, where we're using that tap strafe mixed with a bunny hop to kind of just keep ourselves really hard to hit while staying relatively in the same spot. Like this. And then we can also do a bunny hop where we're moving forward, but then we start tap strafing with it to make these really jagged movements while moving forward. And basically all we're doing here, and you don't even have to do this one with the stem, you only have to do the figure 8 one with the stem, but basically what we're doing is as we're bunny hopping forward, you can start with a tap strafe, or you can just start bunny hopping and then add the tap strafe after. But we're basically going to bunny hop, and then off of each jump, we're going to tap strafe in a different direction. Like that. Now this is really useful because if you're trying to move away from someone, what you can start doing is you can start tap strafing in every direction and just make yourself really hard to hit. And then you can also do that kind of tap strafe bunny hop while also standing up, which would look something a little bit like you're running or you're sprinting. And then as you kind of jump forward, you're going to kind of just tap strafe with that. Now what's important is that you jump and then tap strafe, because if you try to tap strafe and then jump, it's going to kind of mess everything up. Instead of doing a sliding bunny hop where we're using that jump slide, or we're using a slide jump and then continuing the slide, we can also do a standing bunny hop. This is what a lot of people from like Call of Duty are used to, where they might like hit like a slide out and then they'll like hop sideways while they're shooting. This is also possible in Apex. Basically, let me just grab a gun here. Now all we're doing here is we're just slide jumping and then using that jump button to continue that momentum forward. And as you can see, if you look at the controller layout here, I'm not even going to touch forward at all. So all of that momentum gets carried from the jump. So if I even just slide jump, all I'm doing is hitting jump, and I'm not hitting any of the other thumbsticks or any other button. So this can help you if you're trying to make a move sideways while shooting. You can do that, or you can do the same thing by doing a bunny hop like this. Now, an important note also, but you don't have to continue to push forward while bunny hopping. You can, it's important that you try and do that a little bit when you're snaking, just so that you can push forward in the right direction, right? Because if you push sideways, it's not going to work properly. You want to make sure that you push forward and you snake on a 45-degree angle left and right. But when you're just doing a regular bunny hop, whether it's straight, you don't have to hit any other input other than holding that crouch and hitting jump. Now, because bunny hopping is primarily used for continuing your momentum, a great way that we're going to be able to implement this into our game is by using it to replace other mechanics that would typically slow us down. So a way that I like to think of bunny hopping and a whole bunch of other mechanics is classifying them as momentum keeping mechanics. And basically what that means is that they're going to keep your momentum while you do other things. So for example, maybe you hit a wall jump. That wall jump is going to give you a bunch of momentum and carry you into a slide. That would be a momentum keeping mechanic. You could use a reload or swap your weapon or maybe start a heal while using that mechanic. Bunny hopping is the exact same thing, where as we start bunny hopping, it's going to keep the momentum that we had from whatever we did previously so that we can do other mechanics that would typically slow us down. So a great example of this would be shooting. When we're shooting our gun, or if we're trying to have our gun up in hand, or even when we're trying to ADS, this slows you down significantly. The time that it would take me to go from here and strafe all the way forward, maybe tracking this player, is very, very long. Same thing if I were to try and just shoot my gun normally. When you shoot your gun, you can't sprint, it forces you to walk. So if every time I want to shoot my gun, it's going to make me move really slow, that might be a little bit of an issue. Instead, what we can do is we can use a momentum keeping movement or momentum keeping mechanic like bunny hopping or wall jumping so that we can keep moving at that faster speed while still being able to shoot our weapon. This is the same thing where, again, if I wanted to do this while like ADSing, I could do that. Or if I wanted to do this while aiming down my sight, I could also do that. And keep all of that speed that I had previously through that mechanic. Now this works even that much better when you're playing legends like Octane or Horizon or even Mad Maggie, who gives you that speed boost when you have like shotguns or when you throw down that ultimate. We do it with Octane here. We can move really fast. We can use Octane to use that speed boost and get really fast momentum keeping mechanics like bunny hopping, so that way we can keep shooting. Another great way that you can kind of implement this, we briefly mentioned before, is using it while healing, right? Instead of healing and then moving really slow the entire time, instead what we can do is we can start off by hitting that heal into a slide and then using that bunny hop to keep ourselves moving as fast as possible before it brings us to a complete halt. Another thing that I don't think really all that many people know about bunny hopping is that because it is a momentum keeping mechanic and it's just technically a slide that you're carrying through and repeating over and over again, you actually don't lose momentum when you're getting shot. So for example, pretty much everybody knows that when you're running around and you get shot by a bullet, it cancels your sprint and it forces you to walk, basically making you move really slow, especially if you're stuck in the open and you're getting shot over and over again. Instead, what you guys can do is you can use a bunny hop. Because that bunny hop is a slide and you don't lose momentum while sliding, even if you're getting shot while bunny hopping, it's not going to slow you down. So it's basically giving you the Gibraltar fortified perk of being able to take damage without getting stopped or slowed on every single legend. The only difference is that now you actually have to work to get that non-slowing effect, as opposed to someone like Gibraltar who just gets it normally or passively. Now, obviously not everybody can afford a pro custom controller, so that's why we're going to kind of talk about our button layouts and why it's important that you should be playing on a certain layout compared to another. The main issue with hitting a bunny hop is that we have to hit crouch and jump all while moving our analog sticks, especially if you're trying to aim while doing this. An example would be something like this. Or maybe you're trying to evade damage and you want to snake out of the bunny hop. Right? While you're doing that, you're obviously using both of your thumbsticks or one of your thumbsticks while hitting crouch, jump, and possibly reload, depending on if you're shooting or not, or maybe you're even swapping your weapons or trying to heal. This all presents an issue of it's hard to keep your thumbs on the sticks while hitting all these different buttons if you have a regular button layout. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you to swap your buttons so that you can keep your thumbs on the sticks to keep moving and aiming when it's most important. Now, one of the options is you can put your most used buttons on either your analog sticks or on your bumpers. One of my good friends, Joseph, or XO, he's actually the movement coach for our Discord server and one of the movement coaches throughout our coaching website. What he does is, if I'm not mistaken, he uses his bumpers to crouch and jump. So that would be an option for you. So one of the options that you could use, one of the pre-made options that you could use inside of the controller presets is you could use Evolved. So what Evolved does here is that it lets you jump with your left bumper, and then it also lets you crouch with your right thumbstick, meaning that you can both be hitting crouch and jump, which are the two only inputs that you need to be using while bunny hopping, while still being able to use your left thumbstick and still while being able to look around and aim while inputting that bunny hop. Now, what I like to do is like I said, the way that I like to do it is I like to play on customized. And then what I do is I just use the back buttons on my controller. So the two controllers that I like to use the most are aim controllers and then Cinch gaming controllers. Aim controllers are personally my favorite, but I've been using Cinch for a longer period of time. And the reason why I prefer aim over Cinch is purely because the buttons on the back are paddles and not actual buttons. So as you can see right here with the aim controller, you get a kind of like a device in the back here with these wings that spread out, and then these are the paddles that you get to hit. One, the paddles are just a little bit lighter, so you don't have to press in as hard, which is something that I like personally. And then two, there's a lot more surface area for you to be hitting those actual paddles. Now, I know a lot of people who actually prefer the Cinch gaming controllers because they're buttons, and for whatever reason, they prefer the buttons, right? In my personal preference, I prefer the paddles. But something that is just absolutely great with the aim controllers in specific, especially, now something that I personally just love about the aim controllers, other than the paddles, is the fact that all of the custom parts inside of this controller have a lifetime warranty. So your buttons on the faceplate, if you get digital buttons, you get a lifetime warranty with these. If you have swappable thumbsticks where the sticks actually pop off, for some reason the aim controllers are like really hard to get on and off. It's like a really tight fit, which I mean isn't like the worst thing. But these, lifetime warranty on your thumbsticks, lifetime warranty on the paddles on the back. And then also an awesome thing, it's only on the PlayStation 5 controllers. I'm going to see if they're going to be doing it on the Xbox controllers sometime soon, but you can actually swap between a regular pull on your analog stick, on your triggers, and then you can flip the switch and switch it to a digital trigger. Now, you can also get digital triggers on the Cinch controllers. They just don't have an option to kind of switch between, you know, the two. But nonetheless, you can still get all the same features on a Cinch controller. Cinch just doesn't have a lifetime warranty on all of their custom parts. But with that being said, with the custom controllers, this is what is basically allowing me to be crouching or hold my crouch while jumping and then use my aim, you know, whichever way that I need. As well, right, you also have those two other paddles, which I like to map to my swapping weapons and to my interact or my reloads. That way I can be swapping while tracking people, or swapping while turning around, reloading while trying to follow someone, or just whatever the situation might be. These back buttons are going to help you continuously be inputting without having to take your thumbs off the stick every time you need to go do something, which is going to keep you from doing stuff like super jumps or mechanics like bunny hopping, and so on and so forth. Now, if you are interested in picking up either of the Cinch or any of the AIM gaming controllers, they do both come in PS4, 5, and then Xbox options on both websites, so you can go and check that out. And because you're going through my specific link, you can save yourself anywhere up to 5 to 10% on these gaming controllers. And if the code doesn't automatically apply at discount, you can use code district at aimcontrollers.com, and you can use code FINALBOSS at cinchgaming.com. The links will be in the description down below, so regardless, you're going to have, you know, the link there for you to go and check out. All right. Now, coming back to hold to crouch, it is super important that you have hold to crouch put on, because if we toggle this, we put it back to toggle, just like how we briefly talked before, if you go into a slide and you hit jump, it doesn't automatically put you back into a crouch, which is an issue. This means that if you do play on crouch and you want to learn how to bunny hop, now what you have to do is you have to sprint, slide, jump, and then you have to hit crouch again so that you can hop back into that slide. And as you can see with, oh, I actually don't have the controller layout put on. Now, going back to playing on hold to crouch versus playing on toggle, it is extremely important that you consider switching to hold to crouch, purely because when you're playing on toggle and you hit that jump button, it won't let you go back into a crouch right away. You have to manually do that. For example, if I hit a slide and then hit jump, it's going to kick me back up into that stand, which is inevitably forcing you to hit that crouch button again, which is just one extra input every time you want to continue that bunny hop. So for example, with this controller layout right here, check out how many times I need to hit crouch just to bunny hop on toggle. It's like as soon as you hit jump, you need to crouch again. You see how many extra inputs that is? It is significantly more inputs compared to if you just switch to hold and then you just hold that in the entire time and then you just hit jump. So if you are playing on toggle, a reason why you might be struggling so much is because you're playing on toggle instead of hold. Now, something that's really interesting about bunny hopping is that it carries all of the momentum that you had previously into that mechanic. So whatever speed you started off with, that's the speed that you're going to continue to carry throughout every single one of your hops. So for example, everyone knows that when you run with your gun put away versus when your gun in your hand, you run at different speeds. You run slower with your gun in your hand, you run slower with your gun holstered. So if you were to start a bunny hop with your gun in your hand, you're going to be moving at a slower speed throughout the entirety of that bunny hop. versus if you were to do the same bunny hop and holster your gun, you're going to notice that you have just a little bit more speed as you go through that hop. You see how much faster I got past that dummy? Now, because bunny hopping is a continuation, or it's a variation of a sliding mechanic, something else that's really important to note is that whether you start your slide with your gun in your hand or with your gun put away, is going to affect when you can actually slide. So for example, if I have my gun in my hand and I want to initiate a slide, I have to take a minimum of 1, 2, 3 footsteps. If I do anything shorter than those 3 footsteps, 1, 2, I'm going to get a dead slide. 1, dead slide. 1, 2, dead slide. 1, 2, 3, that slide will initiate. Versus if I holster my weapon, this is what's known as an instant slide. Some people call it a fade slide. 1 step, and you can initiate that slide. 1 step, you can start that slide. So if I'm trying to play from cover and my gun is in my hand and I want to come off and start that bunny hop while pushing forward, or maybe even I just want to use that bunny hop to kind of move back and get away, if I don't take that full step, I'm going to get that dead slide. Or if I don't take that full 1, 2, 3 step, I'm going to get a dead slide, and it's going to affect whether you actually are able to bunny hop or not. So just keep that in mind. Something that you might want to consider is making sure that you holster your gun before you do anything else. That way you can get those 1-step slides as opposed to having to take 3 steps. Now, previously I said that bunny hopping is a great way to carry your momentum, and there's lots of mechanics in Apex that are going to help you get momentum that you can carry through. For example, if you just do a regular slide jump, that is one way to kind of build momentum and then use that bunny hop to carry through. Another way that we can build momentum is incorporating stuff like wall jumps into a bunny hop. When you hit a wall jump, it gives you a little bit more speed than if you were to just hit a regular slide jump. So for instance, instead of just hitting a wall jump and then sliding out and then running, or instead of just hitting that wall jump and then running away from it, like this, and then running away, and then running away, instead what we can start doing is we can start using those bunny hops to carry all of that momentum that we just had and keep it moving through. And look at how much faster we're able to get around the building by using those bunny hops and continuing that extra speed that we got from the wall. Now, another way that you can kind of carry your momentum is, again, using other mechanics that build momentum and then carrying it through using that bunny hop. So for instance, hitting a super jump and then bunny hopping out of that super jump. Now, this is actually a really often used mechanic, especially in buildings where there's zip lines. Now, typically what we see people do is hanging around zip lines and using an interactive jump to build speed and put them into a very aggressive slide, whether it's to move away from someone or whether it's to push towards someone. And then we can carry all of that momentum and keep all of that extra speed by just incorporating that bunny hop and then using that snaking motion to give ourselves a little bit extra speed and to make it a little bit more consistent. Now, a place that we see this happen a lot is in World's Edge, and we'll actually go there right now. Now, here we are in World's Edge, where we've got lots of zipline buildings. There's tons of ziplines. I think there's 2 ziplines over here. We got a zipline here. We've got 2 ziplines. 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's 5, but that one doesn't really count. Regardless, there's tons of ziplines in Fragment, as well as tons of zipline buildings around the map. And another way that people are using these bunny hops is to continue that momentum that they're getting off of the ziplines, to whether it's to push or whether it's to get away. For example, if you were to just kind of come up here and just kind of stop, right, or just let the zipline carry you, it's just going to stop you at the very top. Versus if we take it up and then we hit slide and come off, well, then we're going to slide all the way through. And we're basically going to stop right about over here. But what if you wanted to carry all of that momentum that you got off the zipline and you didn't want to stop and you want to maybe get away or take yourself to a different location using those bunny hops? You could totally do that now. Now, though the extent of bunny hopping is pretty much just using that mechanic to kind of carry your momentum around the map, there are other things that we can do with bunny hopping to chain it, whether it's leading into other mechanics or whether it's leading out of other mechanics. And a good example of that is tap strafing out of a bunny hop or incorporating tap strafes into the bunny hop. For example, instead of just coming up, jumping, and then using that bunny hop to go, basically carrying ourselves forward, now what we can do is we can use that bunny hop with a tap strafe to carry ourselves back. So I might come here, and then I'm going to tap strafe back, and then use that bunny hop to carry that momentum back to that zip line. Come on up, jump out, bunny hop, tap strafe back, and then redirect that momentum back to the zip line so that I can continue those mechanics and keep that fluid motion. And then another way, kind of like how we previously showed before, is using that wall jump to build momentum and carry that with a bunny hop. Now we can also use bunny hops leading to wall jumps as an example. Now you wouldn't typically be able to do a regular wall jump where you slide jump into the wall, but something that you can do instead, you can use that bunny hop to fatigue yourself, and now that you're fatigued, you can hit a fatigue wall jump. Now a fatigue wall jump, if you don't know what that is, we have a whole video about it on our YouTube channel. We made a wall jump guide not too long ago, so I would suggest you going and checking that out. But that right there would just be another example of how you can use that fatigue or use that bunny hop to give yourself a couple different options in terms of movement mechanics. Now, that's all for this quick movement guide. If you want to learn more about Apex mechanics or Apex movement, make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube video. And if you want to learn in person, we actually host a Thursday night course every single Thursday of every single month from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. EST. And then all of the coaching sessions we also record, and we upload a dedicated movement guide video for that specific week. So this video is actually going to be for this week. You guys just get to see it here on the YouTube channel. And then next week, we're going to add another video. The week before we did wall jumps, and another week before that, we did tap strafing and so on and so forth. So if that interests you, head on over to my personal website. The link will be in the description down below, or just go to Google and type in thedistrict.pro. It's about $15 a month, and with that you get a catalog of different movement techniques such as wall jumping, tap strafing, super glides, and then how to chain everything together. As well, it's an in-person class like I mentioned, so if you have any questions, you're going to be able to ask me or one of our other movement coaches, XO, who's going to be able to kind of walk you through those steps in an actual map. So just like before, how I was running around World's Edge and showing you how to do those bunny hops, we're going to load up World's Edge or a different map, and we're all going to get together, and you're going to be able to practice those movement mechanics with a movement coach without having to worry about anyone shooting you from the side or, you know, kind of interrupting you as you kind of run around the map. Now, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe. We have a lot more coming, especially this week. We have a 20 bomb video coming really soon on showing you guys how you need to be playing if you want to drop higher damage games as well as higher kill games. And yeah, that's all for today. We'll see you guys later.